Hello Craft Huts followers, my name is Kelly Johnson and today we're going to be learning another knitting fundamental. We're going to be learning how to do the purl stitch. Here's an example of what the purl stitch will look like after you've purled every stitch for a few rows. For all of you just getting started with knitting, I know the purl stitch can seem a little bit intimidating, but I promise you'll pick it up in no time. So let's start learning. Before you start purling, make sure you have your stitches cast onto your needle. I have 10 stitches cast onto my needle. Also, make sure that you have 2 knitting needles and a ball of yarn. Take your working yarn, which is this piece right here that's still connected to your ball of yarn, and move it off to the left of your work. Now when you purl, it's pretty much just the opposite of the knit stitch. In the knit stitch, we went up into the first stitch. In the purl stitch, we're going to go down into that first stitch. So with your stitch needle in your left hand and your empty needle in your right hand, take your empty needle and put it down into the first stitch that's on your left hand needle. Just like that. Now for the purl stitch, your working yarn should always be in the front of your work. So right now we're going to take this working yarn and we're going to wrap it around our right hand needle. And then we're going to take our right hand needle and put it up into the first stitch that we just put it into. So before we put it down into the stitch from the top to the bottom, this time we're going to put it up in the stitch from the bottom to the top. Now your work should look like this. Take the stitch and take it off of your left hand needle. That's your first purl stitch. Keep your yarn in the front of your work when you're purling and go to do the next stitch. So put your right hand needle into the next stitch on your left hand needle from the top to the bottom. Now wrap your yarn around and put it back into the stitch from the bottom to the top. Take it off your left hand needle and that's your next purl stitch. Keep going. Down. Wrap it around and up, down, wrap it around and up, down, wrap it around and up. Continue in this manner all the way down your row. Once you've finished your first row of purl stitches, you'll notice that all of your stitches are now on your right hand needle and none of your stitches are on your left hand needle. That's perfectly normal. Just make sure before you start the next row that you switch needles. So now this is your left hand needle and this is your right hand needle. Doing a second row of purling is exactly the same as the first row. Let's get started. Again, make sure that your working yarn is in front and take your right hand needle and put it into the first stitch of your left hand needle from the top to the bottom. Now take your working yarn and wrap it around your right hand needle. Now take the stitch off of your left hand needle by putting it up and off. Again, leaving your working yarn in front, go into the next stitch with your right hand needle from the top to the bottom. Wrap your working yarn around your right hand needle. And now take your right hand needle and put it back into that stitch from the bottom to the top and take it off of your left hand needle. Again, down, around the right hand needle, up and off. Down, around the right hand needle, up and off. Just like that. Keep going all the way down your second row. If you knit every stitch for 2 rows, your work will look like this. If you continue to knit every stitch for 10 rows, your work will start to look more like this. I know that purling can seem a little bit confusing if you're a beginning knitter, but doing so will make a whole world of patterns and projects open up to you, so make sure you keep practicing. Thanks for watching. Make sure to check out craft.hutsplus.com for more knitting and crafting tips and tutorials.